Star verdict. Am I the a-hole? Am I the Karen? So, little backstory. I, 21 female, am a Midwestern transplant to the deep south of Georgia. Now, I'm not of the Midwestern vein that inherited Canadian niceness, but rather the NYC meets redneck region, where, quite frankly, no one cares. As such, I'm quite blunt and very different from the southern women around here. I try not to be rude, but it comes out that way from time to time when I don't say it with a smile, because I have no need to do so at the time. But I've developed some skills to fit in a little better and can usually slap a "I'm not mad but fix it" grin on when I need to. I'm in a restaurant with my friend who consistently makes jokes that I'm Karen. So, at said restaurant, we're having lunch and it is a slow day for this place. Now, I normally would have absolutely zero issue with food coming out slow. It happens, I get it. But being one of the 4 tables on an uncharacteristically slow day with a full staff, I shouldn't expect to wait 45 minutes for 2 sandwiches that seemed like they'd been done for quite some time. The food was cold, soggy, unseasoned, and their new portion control ideas were taken way too far. I realized that the staff working flat doesn't care to do things right that day, and don't even bother sending it back because there would be no point. I want to pay for my food that I've pushed away and go. Waitress returns and asks, "Everything tastes good?" To which I replied with aforementioned grin, "No, it really kind of sucked. Can I just get the check?" Because she asked. She got a little flustered and went to get the manager, to my protest because I really didn't care. It was one meal, and I still got to hang out with my friend, who was embarrassed on the other side of the table because I seemed to have offended his polite sensibilities. Waitress and manager return. He asks what the problem was, and I tell him all the things I mentioned because, again, he asked. I wasn't angry. I never raised my voice. I never cursed. I just didn't apologize for not liking the food, which here is customary. He rolled his eyes so far back into his head I'm pretty convinced he saw the secret to life, and told me that they could comp it if I wanted. I said no because the food is usually decent and I didn't want to be hated. My friend asked, "Then why make a fuss?" Because they asked. And still, every time we go somewhere, he asks me not to be Karen. Mind you, there have been other instances of such things happening in different contexts. One such brief example is when I made a guy step away from his own birthday party because his car was blocking me in and I wanted to go home. Did my grin, but didn't apologize for making him step away because it's not my fault he parks like garbage. Friend didn't like that one either, and he thought it was important to mention this event to provide further context of my Karen-ness. Am I being the a-hole for being too blunt? Rather, am I the Karen? Top comments. You're the a-hole. I'm a blunt New Yorker, and saying, "know what kind of sucks?" still strikes me as insanely rude. You don't have to apologize to be polite. You could say, "Honestly, it's pretty soggy and doesn't taste as good as the food usually does here," or something else honest but not so rude. Don't decide that being a jerk to people is just how I am. It's a bad path. 99% of the time when people say, "I'm just a blunt person," what they really mean is, I would rather allow every unfiltered thought that graces my brain to exit through my mouth than spend a single moment in consideration of other people's feelings. You do not appear to be in the minority. Not only are you the Karen, but you're well on your way to becoming the final Karen boss that hapless servers and retail workers have to defeat 5 minutes before close, after clearing a full day's worth of lesser Karens. You're the a-hole. Your a-holery isn't a fun regional quirk. You get precisely 0 points for slapping on an insincere grin and saying rude stuff through your teeth. You're the a-hole. You put the server in a really awkward position by complaining about the food but not letting them do anything to address it. You say you're blunt, but I actually think pushing the food away and not accepting a comp on the meal because you don't want to be hated is super passive-aggressive. You're the Karen. Your "I'm not mad but fix it" grin sounds like it's probably condescending AF. LMA. You're the a-hole, but you seem proud of it, so this may be a validation post, so double you're the a-hole. Honestly, if people around you constantly point out, even as a joke, that you're the Karen, you're probably the Karen. You're the a-hole. It seems like the OP is concerned about whether their directness in certain situations make them come across as a Karen. Let's break down the situation and assess the OP's behavior. In the restaurant scenario, the OP expressed their dissatisfaction with the food in a way that was overly blunt. Even though OP provided honest feedback about the quality and preparation of the food, the OP would likely have gotten the same results from speaking in a kinder way to the waitress, who was not at fault for the bad food quality. The OP needs to consider the impact of their bluntness on the people around them. Their friend, who seems to have a different communication style, might have been embarrassed or uncomfortable with their straightforward approach. OP needs to find a balance between expressing their concerns and being mindful of others. As for the incident with the guy blocking their car at a birthday party, it was reasonable for the OP to tell them to move his car since it was preventing them from leaving. However, the way that OP handled the situation affected the overall atmosphere, especially considering it was the guy's birthday party. Being direct and honest is not necessarily a negative trait, but it's also crucial to consider the impact of your words and actions on others, and strive for a respectful and understanding approach. The OP definitely needs to spend some time reflecting on their communication style and consider whether there are better ways to express their concerns to make requests without causing discomfort to others. The line between being honest and intentionally being rude for the sake of being a jerk is really thin. Am I the a-hole for refusing to name our daughter Karen? My wife and I recently found out we're having a daughter. We hadn't really talked about names before, but we both agreed that each of us will retain veto power. When we did start discussing names, both of us wanted to name her after our late mothers. Her mom's name was Karen, and my mom's name wasn't a meme. I told her the baby can take my mom's name as her first name and her mom's name as a middle name, or have an entirely different name, but I can't okay Karen as the first name in any case. She got offended because she just wants to honor her mother and thinks I have a problem with that. I just don't want to set our daughter up to be bullied throughout her life. I told her I'd be fine with whatever first name she picks, as long as it doesn't lead to the kid being picked on later in life. But she's pretty insistent on Karen. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up. I thought I'd delete this since this issue is pretty much resolved now, but you guys are clearly enjoying this, so I thought I'd provide an update. We had to talk about this and why she had such an emotional reaction to my veto. Ever since her mom died, suddenly, when she was only 14, she's wanted to name her first daughter after her, and she didn't really ever consider that the meme might make a potential obstacle. By that point, I'd thought about it for a while and realized that, as many of the comments have pointed out, Karen likely won't be a meme by the time she's old enough to feel its impact. So, I told her, I'll recant my veto, but we should still reconsider it because it still has potential complications, and we might just come up with a better tribute. While exchanging ideas, we realized that both our mothers, very coincidentally, had the exact same middle name, Elizabeth. Well, mine had two middle names, and Elizabeth was one of them, but still, it seemed completely perfect to both of us, so we're going with it. Thanks for all your inputs. Top comments. Not the a-hole. It was a normal name. Now it's a joke. Imagine baby Karen. People are gonna make jokes all her life. I personally feel like the Karen thing will die off one day, and our children's generation will likely know nothing about it. However, I can see where you would still be adamant about not wanting to name her that. There's a bit of a stigma around that name today. I think you guys should take a different route in name picking and just steer clear of tribute naming. Good luck. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Give her two middle names and pick a completely new first name. Or if there's a way to combine your mom's name and her mom's name to create a new name, that might be cool. Or maybe you could just suggest something like Corrine. Could be spelled different ways, like Corrine or Karen. This is my middle name, and it's spelled Karen, or Carly, or Ren. Then it's kind of still got some of her mom's name in it to honor her, but also gives your daughter her own name too. Not the a-hole. I get where you're coming from. We did the same thing, except we used my mom's middle name as her first name. That way, we knew it was a tribute to my mom, but no one else needed to know. This was also long before the Karen meme started. Another reason we chose the middle name is we felt it would be weird and a little uncomfortable for me to have to discipline my child, which thankfully didn't happen often, and use my mom's name at the same time. Not the a-hole. You both have good reasons. You suggested a compromise and you've discussed veto power. I think the only solution you can find is to convince her to accept other suggestions and find something else you both agree on. Not the a-hole. But you're being quite silly, mate. Memes don't live 20 years. It's important to consider potential complications and the impact a name can have on a child's life. Right now, Karen would not be a very popular name for a child because of its negative connotations. However, in a few years, the name may become popular again. Jokes and trends tend to have a pretty short life cycle. So, long term, I don't think the OP will have anything to worry about. The name Karen may even become rare or unique, simply due to the fact that less people are giving that name to their child. Choosing the middle name Elizabeth as tribute to both their mothers sounds like a great compromise. Ultimately, finding a name that both the OP and their partner feel comfortable with and that honors their family is a beautiful choice. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she humiliated us by being a Karen? So, my mom and I, 21 male, went out for dinner at a sub shop. She paid for both our food. When she went to pay, she accidentally tipped 20% on the card machine. $5.62 tip. The two guys working there were younger and weren't sure how to cancel the payment. My mom told them it was a mistake and requested the money back. When the employees said they didn't know how to cancel the payment after it had gone through, she got visibly irritated. She never insulted or raised her voice, but was condescending to the workers. Ultimately, they called the manager who wasn't there, and the manager told them to reimburse her out of the tip jar. After we sat down with our food, I told her that it was humiliating, that she was so adamant about getting the money back since it was such a small amount and was a tip to the employees who she was talking down to. She then got mad at me, saying that I get mad at her for everything she does. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she humiliated herself and me for demanding the tip back? Edit 1. I never actually called her a Karen to her face. It was just the best way I could describe it. 2. Money isn't tight at all in our house. My parents have shared finances. Top comments. Not the a-hole. I would be very embarrassed too. And what she did was rude in my opinion. Not the a-hole. I think it is great that you told her. Growing up, I never would have said that to my father because respect your elders. Well, now we know that respect goes both ways, no matter the age. I frequently enraged my family by telling them respect was earned, not automatically given when I was in my teens and 20s, 1970s, 1980s. I would have definitely called a family member out on behavior like this. If you can't lose a $5 tip, you shouldn't eat out either. Not the a-hole. That is so humiliating. Would it have been so hard to just tip the workers? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, since the tip was her mistake. If it hadn't been her error, I could have gotten behind her on this. But it was not her, so, in my opinion, she just needed to live with it and take it as a reminder to be more careful next time. I'm not sure this put her all the way to a-hole level, but driving people crazy for your own mistake is hella annoying. That said, I often work at a register, and I have learned you have to know how to deal with these things. Not the a-hole. I would have been mortified to make such a fuss to get back a few dollars so she tips under 20%. Awful. I'm guessing since it was a counter service restaurant, she wasn't planning on tipping at all. The OP was right for giving their mom a reality check. Being disrespectful to people working in the service industry is embarrassing. Oftentimes people feel the need to put down retail workers to make themselves feel better, or to let out their frustrations on someone who can't argue back. The OP had every reason to let their mother know that her behavior was uncalled for and disrespectful. Although $5 might not seem like much to some, it's possible that the OP's mom needed the money back for financial reasons. However, berating the employees over a mistake she made was absolutely not the right way to go. Hopefully, the OP's mom is able to reflect on her behavior and make better decisions in the future. Am I the a-hole for requesting a curfew for minors for the pool at a hotel? Just for context, I had an extremely important appointment that was very early in the morning, so I booked a nice hotel, almost $200 a night, to stay in the night before my appointment. I checked out the pool and noticed that there was kids everywhere. I have no problem with kids, but these kids were running around the pool, yelling at the top of their lungs, splashing everyone, jumping in the pool, etc. I have sensory issues. I am on the autism spectrum, so I decided to wait. I checked the pool every 30 minutes to see if they would leave. They didn't leave until 10 at night. Finally, I got to go for a swim. Then another family comes in and their kids are the same, screaming bloody murder, splashing strangers, jumping in the pool, etc. Their kids were all under the age of 10. Like I said, I have no problem swimming around children. I don't want to swim around children who are so loud that you can hear it at the reception desk. The pool rules clearly stated, no diving, no jumping, no running, no horseplaying, no screaming. I was with my mom in the pool. We both agreed that there needs to be a designated adult time in the pool, but the parents cannot get their kids to follow the rules. Then, at 10:55 p.m., the family finally leaves, which leaves us exactly 5 minutes to swim before the pool closes. I talked to the manager the next day about the situation. I tell them that it's not fair for the kids to hog the pool morning, noon, and night. Children under 10 should be in bed by 10, and let the pool be reserved for adults only from 10 to 11 p.m. I get that kids want to have fun, but they can behave while in the pool. The manager says that they cannot do that. I tell them that they need to start enforcing pool rules. If you can hear them from the reception area, that is a problem. The guest overheard my request and called me a Karen. So, am I the a-hole? Top comments. You're the a-hole. You can't have people cater to what you want. Yes, they were breaking the rules, but it's also more than likely true what the front desk person told you. They can't enforce it. It's a risk you take in public areas, other people. I'm afraid you're the a-hole. You can't ask a hotel to change their pool hours or pool policy on the fly. That's 100% up to them. You can ask them to enforce the no running, no yelling rule, but you can't make them do it. Practically speaking, this is like having dinner at a family-friendly restaurant with a ton of screaming kids. It's irritating as heck, but your move is to not come back. You can't direct how a business manages their clients. Next time you travel, book a place with a kid pool and an adult-only pool. Those hotels do generally enforce that rule. Or check TripAdvisor and book a small hotel known to target adult travelers rather than families. You're the a-hole. And the guest was right about what they called you. The pool is there for every guest, not just you. Info. What was the extremely important appointment that you speak of that you were still up after 11 p.m. the night before? You used a lot of harsh descriptive words. Extremely, bloody murder, yelling at the top of their lungs, etc., etc. I'm just wondering if those descriptions are accurate. You're the a-hole, because it is a hotel pool for all guests. $200 a night is a mid-priced hotel, and you can expect families with children to be there, whether on vacations or going to a sport competition. You cannot expect that kids are not playing in the pool, especially in the summer. That is the best part of staying at a hotel for the kids. It's the pool. And yes, kids are allowed in the pool, and yes, it is irritating, but it is not your private pool. If you want a quiet adult pool, then you probably have to stay at a higher-end hotel with a spa-type area. You're the a-hole. There are adult-only hotels just for people like us who would prefer some quiet time without rambunctious children. Next time it might be an idea to look for one of those. Like another commenter mentioned, I would recommend for the OP to go to a hotel that is for adults only, or possibly search for hotels that have quiet hours. Still, the OP claims that they have an early morning and need their rest. They are also disappointed about not getting to use the pool late into the evening. The OP can't tell the other family when their children should be in bed, especially considering the fact that the family is likely on vacation. Just like the OP is entitled to the pool, so are other families that pay just as much, or likely more, to be there. It's understandable that the OP has sensory issues, and excessive noise and disruptive behavior can be particularly challenging for them. However, their suggestion of having a designated adult-only time in the pool is not something that can be enforced by the hotel, since they're not required to change their rules for any particular guest. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister having children was her choice? On mobile. I, female 25, have never really gotten along with my older sister, female 31, Sarah. I hate to use this word, but she's what you would call a Karen. She thinks the entire world has to bow to her feet, and if she says jump, then the whole nation has to jump. She often brags about how bossy she is, and how she always pushed me around during our childhood, etc. She finds it amusing that she was horrible to me. That is all besides the point. It was more to paint a picture of the kind of entitled person she is. I'm not perfect either. The problem is that she has 2 kids, female 4, female 2, and after both of her births, she blocked my entire family each time. The last time she gave birth, she blocked me and told me never to go to her house again and banned me from seeing her daughters because on the day she gave birth, I went to babysit her first child, but instead of staying the whole night, I left around 7 p.m., even though my mom was already staying the night to look after her kids. My sister was still offended that I left to go and take care of my dog, who was home alone. After that, she went no contact with me for a year, despite the fact that I reached out to her to make up, and eventually she came back and we hashed things out. A few weeks ago, I was at her house with my mom and little sister, female 12, Hannah, and my younger sister was not feeling well, but my older sister was insisting that she should play with her kids and entertain them. Seeing my little sister feeling sick and not wanting to play with the kids, I told my older sister to stop pestering Hannah and that Hannah didn't need to spend every second of her time entertaining Sarah's kids. We ended up in a heated argument because Sarah told me that if we're not feeling well, then we shouldn't go to her house, and that we basically need to spend all our time looking after our kids. And she brought up the fact that we weren't there for her kids when they were first born, and I told her that it was her fault for banning us from seeing them. She said that we should have still went and looked after her kids because she was having a hard time. I told her that popping out kids left and right was her and her husband's choice, and that we didn't sign an agreement to look after her children. I told her that when I chose to have a dog, I never expected anyone else to look after him, and that he was my responsibility, no one else's. And it's the same for her kids, and I ended up leaving her house. Everyone in my family was on my side, but I don't even care about sides. I just want to know if I'm genuinely a bad auntie. I tried to be in my niece's lives, but my sister just wouldn't allow it. Maybe I should have tried harder. I just don't see how her having children is anyone else's responsibility but hers and her husband's. Top comments. Not the a-hole. I feel sorry for the kids being stuck in that house. Just remember, it's not their fault either. I feel sorry for them as well, and I love them to death, but my sister always uses her kids against everyone. She literally stopped her kids from seeing any of my family for a year. She won't even let them see their grandma. I know it's not their fault, and I wish I could help them. Not the a-hole. Your sister sounds miserable and determined to share the misery. I'm glad you stood up for Hannah. She is exhausting. She bullies Hannah all the time when I'm not there, but when I'm there, I don't allow her to do it, and I fell into multiple arguments with her about it. Not the a-hole. If she wants you to babysit, she should give you money. Thank you. And honestly, I would babysit for free. It's the fact that she demands it like it's her right. She doesn't ask. She simply says it's my duty to do it, and it really pisses me off. Not the a-hole. Your sister is on a power trip where she bans you from seeing kids and unbans you on her terms without fault or discussion. She clearly enjoys being the center of the world, and now she is pushing her kids to be one too. She is rude, manipulative, and disrespectful. People like her are narcissistic, who only think of themselves and then blame you for their mistakes. You need to speak up your mind like that. She'll never change, to be honest. Ban her from your life like she did to you. Let her simmer in her own toxicity. It sounds like the OP's been dealing with a challenging dynamic with their older sister. and I can understand the frustrations and complexities that arise in these situations. Regarding the OP's role as an aunt, it's clear that they care about their nieces and have tried to be involved in their lives. However, their sister's decision to limit their contact and involvement is ultimately her choice as their parent. The OP standing up for their younger sister and expressing their concerns about her being pressured to entertain their sister's children just shows how caring of a person she is. It's understandable that emotions ran high during the argument, but the OP should have a conversation with their sister to express their feelings and desires to be involved in their niece's lives. However, if the OP's sister continues to hold having a relationship with her children over the OP's head, it may be necessary for the OP to take a step back from the relationship, even if, unfortunately, it means that the OP will have to take a step back from having a relationship with the kids. Continuing her relationship with the sister and allowing her to dangle her children over the OP's head will continue to give the sister power in the situation. The best solution for the OP would be to protect themselves by setting boundaries so that their sister can no longer manipulate them into doing what she wants. The OP needs to give themselves time and space to work through these complexities and seek ways to connect with their nieces when the opportunity arises. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you agree with the verdicts down below. Also, consider checking out my other channel, Star_Vingart, where I post my artwork, and my Etsy, StarVingartCompany, where I sell my art prints and stickers. Bye.